Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room for some fandom fun on this Friday night. By the time this goes up, I did create this card using some of my stamps from Popsiclesticks as well as her Slimline or mini Slimline dies. I will bring in some Lawn Fawn dies, some paper from Echo Park, Lawn Fawn, Your Paper Insider, Scrapbook.com. But I'm going to start with coloring. So I've stamped all of the images I want to use using Ink on 3's Blackout Hybrid ink. And I'm using Olo markers to color them in. For my little bean box here, I'm starting with some really kind of pale I guess O is orange, but like pale brown colors. So I'm using O 7.3 and O 7.1 to color in what would be the more creamy white areas of my little bean box here. Once I'm all done coloring those stripes in, I'm going to move on to the red. So for that, I'm going to use R 0.5 and R 0.4. I was gifted this stamp set from Popsiclesticks along with the dies, so you'll see those noted below with an asterisk in my supply list, but you can get these yourself on Etsy. I'm not an affiliate or get any type of link through Etsy, but you should definitely shop Popsiclesticks' adorable fandom sets and amazing dies. She has some great dies, not only these mini slimline dies that I'm going to use today, but also a really cool backpack die, a shadow box die, a really cool easel die. I have created with everything but the backpack. The backpack I still need to, I'm intimidated by it. I need to use it. But I wanted to just really create with these fun candy themed stamps today. For the golden yellow on the box, I'm using YO 2.5 and YO 2.3. For almost all of my coloring, I'm just going to be using two shades of my markers. The candy box that this is inspired from has like a golden banner wording on it. So I decided to use the same colors I used for the gold on the box for the banner. It's the banner itself is its own stamp, and then I stamped in the Your Sweet on the inside of it. I like how it curved along with the banner. I didn't get it quite centered. You can see my T kind of goes into the banner, but I think it still looks really good, so I just went with it. After that, I'm going to color in the little face. I'm going to use some skin tone colors. I'm starting with OR 4.2, and then I went into OR 1.1, and then I'm giving him some ready orange hair. So OR 2.6 and OR 2.5. I'm going to bring in that same red color combination for the hat as well as the golden yellow combination. I will bring in G 1.7 and G 1.4 to color in the green of the hat, and B 0.6 and B 0.5 for the blue portion of the hat. And I'm actually going to use a lot of these color combinations I've already shown for the different beans inside. So for the green, again, G 1.7 and G 1.4. Although for a couple of them, I wanted them to be a little bit more limey colored. So I'm going to bring in YG 2.1, just the little half marker there to color those in. For the more kind of anchovy looking ones, B 4.6 and B 4.3. And finally, a very light touch of BG 2.1. I'll move back into some color combinations you've already seen, like the golden yellow. I just wanted to give those kind of, I forget what the color is or the flavor is in the original candy that this is inspired from. Or can it be original if it's fandom? I don't know. But I brought in some reds and bringing in those ORs again. That's similar to the hair that I did for the little boy's face. But I will bring in one more little half marker, which was R0.3. I'm also going to bring in R5.7 and R5.5 to be kind of the more magenta looking ones. And then there are some white beans, so I'm going to use CG1 and CG0 just to give those white beans a little bit of color. There's one flavor that's called toast, so I'm using OR 3.4 and OR 3.2 to color in those beans. And then there is a pepper one, so CG7 and CG5. I don't like coloring in black. Dark grays usually give that effect, so that's what I did for those. And then I'm bringing back in the darkest colors and just adding some stippling dots throughout the images. I also gave my little boy some rosy cheeks using an R marker, and then used the coordinating dies to cut everything out. I did not cut apart the center of my bean die. I left that little window there so I could cut that at the same time and not have to worry about centering that little window, but you can cut that apart if you want. So now I'm going to get my background dies ready, just making sure I have enough room and kind of figuring out the layout that I want for the card. So I'm going to use the largest of the mini Slimline Stitch layer dies from Popsiclesticks. I'm going to use the Scallop from the mini Slimline Scalloped frame dies, and then I'm bringing in the largest of the Lawn Fawn small mini Slimline Stackables. What I love about Popsiclesticks Slimline dies is that they're bigger than the average Slimline dies out there, or the mini I should say. So these are really great dies to use alongside with what you probably already have in your stash, so you could do lots of layering, lots of options. I'm bringing out a piece of pattern paper from Echo Park's Witches and Wizards collection. I'm bringing out a piece of textured canvas cardstock in red from Lawn Fawn. And then I'm also using a very white, glittery, fun cardstock from Your Paper Insider box number 4. So I use the largest die for the red textured canvas. I use the scallop die for the white glitter cardstock, and then the large Lawn Fawn die for the pattern paper. I'm going to use my adhesive runner to add the scallop onto the red background, and then I'm going to use some thin foam adhesive. This foam adhesive is from scrapbook.com and it is 1 millimeter thick, 1/4 inch wide, and I'm going to add a few strips of these to the inside of that glitter paper like rectangle opening there. I'll go ahead and peel off the release paper and then attach the pattern paper to the center of that. I love this pattern paper. The yellow matched perfectly with my coloring and it has cute little lightning bolts on there, which is very on brand for this magical fandom. I'm going to glue the jelly beans so they look like they are on the inside of my card. So I'm using the negative piece that I had left over from die cutting out the sweets container, and I'm going to use that as a guide of where I'm going to glue my jelly beans so it looks very full on the inside. So I'm just going to play around with how it's all going to lay out, and I definitely have plenty of jelly beans. And I'm going to start by adding some glue to that little white kind of trapezoid. And I'm going to use a pickup tool to help me pick up the different jelly beans and apply them on to that rectangle or trapezoidal piece with adhesive. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to show how I add all the beans, but I'm just basically adding some glue, adding some beans, applying pressure so the beans stick in place where the glue is. And again, I just want to fill up the space that will be shown through the opening of my candy packaging. So I'll keep going here. I'm going to just kind of quickly fast forward. I do try to do my best to not glue all the green jelly beans together in one spot. I tried to break it up a little bit. And here you can see all but 2 die cut pieces of beans, make it onto my card, and you can see them through the opening, which I think is so fun. So I decided to grab a piece of acetate and trim it down to fit behind that opening on my jelly bean box here. I just thought it would give that packaging look if I had the acetate. So I'll go ahead and add some double-sided adhesive around the opening on the back side of the jelly packaging. I pulled off the release paper and then I'm attaching that piece of acetate that I trimmed down to know that it will fit behind my colored in packaging. With that, I'll go ahead and grab my foam adhesive. Again, this is the 1 millimeter thick foam adhesive, and I will add it to the back of the beans. I'm not creating a shaker or anything because it feels a little weird having to add foam adhesive with acetate and it not being a shaker, but just putting it around so there's plenty of stability on the back side of this colored in die cut. I pulled off all the release paper and realized that I hadn't added my little white highlights to my jelly beans, so I did that real quick. And then I'll go ahead and use the grid on my glass mat to try to get that centered and have all those fun little beans showing through the opening. Once that's in place, I can go ahead and play around with the layout. I want to get my sentiments on. So I'm going to stamp another sentiment, but I'll start with getting the rest of the decorations onto the box. So I'll glue the party hat onto the little boy face, and then I'm going to glue the sentiment, the first part of my sentiment on as well. So I'm playing around with how this is going to lay out, and I know that I need the little face a little bit more towards the top of the opening. So just using the banner sentiment as a guide, I'll go ahead and glue the little party hat down. And then I'll go ahead and adhere the banner as well. I'm just going to add some liquid adhesive to where I know it will overlap with the jelly bean container. And I will go ahead and glue that down. Now before I add the extra jelly beans to the front of the card, I'm going to add some highlights to my images that I've glued down, and then I will stamp the second part of my sentiment just so I know where these all are going to fit. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to grab one of my banner dies from the mini Slimline stitch layer dies, again from Popsiclesticks, and I'm going to create my own sentiment from the card. So I'll go ahead and just grab those and get them ready, and I'm going to stamp them onto a banner. So I'm actually going to die cut the banner first, and then I'm going to stamp on the banner in my MISTI. And the reason why I do that is because when I have like a bunch of little stamps that need to fit on a banner, I just find it easier to use the edge of the banner, like the die cut pieces, to be able to make sure that sentiment is going to fit rather than stamping and hoping it will fit as I die cut. So I went ahead and used the negative piece of the banner to get my sentiment lined up. And then I'm going to use some VersaFine in Nocturne. This is VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I stamped my sentiment onto that white banner. And it was pretty straight because I had the MISTI. I do think that I probably could have stamped the middle part of my sentiment first and then the other parts of the sentiment just because of the spacing, but I still think it looks really good. And I'm going to use that same 1 millimeter thick foam adhesive to attach the banner. So now my sentiment says, "You're sweet," and then the bottom part says, "Hey sugar, have a sweet birthday." So I'm adhering that to the front of my card, and then that lets me know how much area I have to glue my jelly beans down. So I'll go ahead and just use some liquid glue to glue those down as well. So I'll go ahead and add those. And then once I'm done, I'll add some highlights to those jelly beans as well. And I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of sparkle to the card. What else is new? I do have some, shine because of that white glitter cardstock that's kind of peeking out as that scalloped die cut, but I wanted a little bit more, so I'm going to grab some sequins. These are Snowfall from Pink and Main. It's a confetti embellishment, and I'm going to use the more iridescent There's like matte ones and then super shiny iridescent, and I'm going to use those around the card. Well, it's actually just around the top of the beans, and I added 5 total. I like things in odd numbers. So now that those are in place, I'll go ahead and put away the rest of the confetti embellishment, and that will finish off my card. I do realize I forgot to put a card base on it, but I'm going to wait until my sequins are glued down and that glue is dry. So here is a close-up look at this mini Slimline card, again for Fandom Friday. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Make sure you check out Popsiclesticks fandom themed stamps and her amazing die sets on Etsy, and let me know what you want to see in a future Friday fandom video in my comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!